PwC All-Star Awards on November 2nd, we are taking a look through the brand new PwC All-Star App. The app allows you to choose your football and hurling teams of the year, and we're going to choose our football team of the year today. And we're delighted to be joined for some help by three men who have 7 All-Stars between them: Ciaran, Whelan, Marc, and Graham Geraghty. Lads, you're very welcome along.
Thanks, man.
So on the app, like we're saying, you can pick your 15, you can pick them in any position you want as well, as is going to be the case with the awards this year. So lads, we're looking here at the app. We've got 10 players straight away who we all think are pretty much nailed on to get into that All-Star team. But I suppose the goalkeeper, Ciaran, is the first talking point. You had 3 great goalkeepers there who all had great seasons. But who did you go with in the end?
Yeah, it was difficult. It's probably going to be the biggest debate coming into the All-Stars. We know what Stephen Cluxton brings to the party in terms of his consistency. Graham Geraghty was fantastic for Laois as well in the Leinster Championship. He just brought something new to the whole goalkeeping game, and Beggan was fantastic. So it was a really tough decision. We had a long debate about it. We've gone for Cluxton, just marginally over Rory Beggan, because I think he sets the standard so high. Every mistake is probably over scrutinised, and he still controlled Dublin. Whatever Dublin play well, perform well, he's central to it, and he was brilliant in the All-Ireland final. So he just marginally ahead of Beggan.
Cool. So Cluxton goes in here, and we have him in now. The full back line, you're looking at Johnny Cooper, Padraig Hampsey, nailed on really, but there was a bit of debate around the third man in the full back line, Marc.
There was, yeah. We went in the end with Owen Bon Gallagher. We thought he was excellent all season, the way he was able to tear off up the field, and I think that's the way the modern game has gone, the way the cornerbacks and the full back line, the way they attack up the field. But he was outstanding all season, and he brought a freshness to this Donegal team. Johnny Cooper, Johnny was outstanding, and the more the year went on, the better he got, the tighter he got. He's just one of those players that everyone wants on their team. Outstanding player wherever he's playing. If he's in the half back line, if he's in the full back line, he's one of those players that can play anywhere in the backs. And he was outstanding. Also, Padraig Hampsey in the other corner. He's one of their go-to guy. He can play in the middle of the field. He can play in the full back line. We saw him marking Michael Murphy this year. So the three of them, they're the 3 fellas we went with, and 3 excellent footballers.
Yeah, Graham, there was a few other lads, I suppose, in there with a shout. Drew Wiley had a great year, and you were also talking earlier on about possibly bringing Colin Kavanagh in there in that full back line as a sweepers, where he played most of the year in the championship.
Yeah, I think the way the modern game has gone, we've midfielders dropping back, you've corner forwards, half forwards dropping back into defence. Sean or Colin probably played most of his football as a sweeper, but we debated earlier on, when the opposition's kick out, he was pushing up, he was playing a lot around the middle at that stage. But he has caused us to think a lot of where we're going to play him. But we went from in midfield. He's been outstanding there for them all year. He's been very effective as sweeper, but he's also been there for kick-outs and has some fine catches over the year as well. Yeah,
I suppose the half-back line picked itself. Carl O'Connell, James McCarthy, Jack Mccaffrey. You had Fenton in midfield as well, and then you've put Kavanagh in midfield now. Was there anybody else there in the running for that midfield position? I suppose Michael Murphy had a great year there as well.
Michael Murphy had a great year as well. I suppose you could put a shout out for a lot of players as well. So Brian Howard played a bit there for Dublin as well, was very good. Michael Murphy probably was the big loser this year, probably, particularly in the midfield area. But he had a fantastic year. But as Marc said earlier on, Padraig Hampsey was marking him, won the game, and was quite effective on him as well. So we went for Kavanagh in the finish.
I think one guy that could have gone in there, now Cairns, Monaghan was like, it was his first real season in that Monaghan team, and he was central to Monaghan's progress in the championship. He's another one that had a good shift in that section.
I think what we've seen as well with the All-Star team this year is that all these players, they're so versatile. We're talking about Howard, we're talking about James McCarthy. James McCarthy last year was middle of the field. He was midfield for large portions of the year as well this year. So all these players we're talking about, they're so versatile. I mentioned Johnny Cooper already, Owen Bon, the way he's able to tear up the field. And that's the beauty about the modern game footballer.
It's changed so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Any of the guys in that middle 8 can play that role. It's very different to the old traditional
Exactly,
role.
you were saying, as in there was even the option of bringing Owen Bon out to the half-back line, bring McCarthy into midfield as well. So
yeah, well, that and like Owen Bon, although he's in kind of corner back, like he done most of his damage out around midfield, coming through that central channel for Donegal, particularly in the Ulster Championship. He was excellent. He got injured kind of in the Super 8s, but he's in there, but he's not a natural corner back per se. He offers Donegal a lot more than that in an attacking sense.
I suppose special mention as well to Ciaran O'Connell, and the Kerry Monaghan game. I watched that game closely, and in the first half in particular, I thought he caused us so much damage. The way he was tearing up the field. He was outstanding all season. He took the game to the opposition every day he went out. He
kicked some great scores off the outside.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's so mobile as well. I think he's a natural athlete as well, so he's not long to, I suppose, playing Gaelic football either. So he's fantastic year too.
Definitely. And then in the half forward line, I suppose another lad who was in and around there for the half back line / half forward line was Peter Hart. You've got Ciaran Kilkenny nailed on, Howard nailed on in the half forward line, but that third half forward position, you didn't go with Hart in the end. Who did you go with, Ciaran?
We went with Shane Walsh, and like Shane Walsh was brilliant in the Connacht Championship. I think he was man of the match in 2 games. All-Ireland semi-final, he scored 4 points against Dublin. He's an extremely talented footballer off both feet. And it was a close call again. Like Niall Sludden was excellent also for Tyrone right throughout the year. And he just got in there ahead of him. Like, it's difficult from a Galway perspective. If you look in the forward line, Burke was excellent, Cormer was good on the edge of the square, and Shane Walsh, and I think Galway deserves some recognition, so he got in there right half forward.
Definitely, yeah. And was there any debate around Kilkenny or Howard at all, Marc?
I don't think so, no. Kilkenny was outstanding, and it's just, I think I even said this at the start of the year, how strong he's even got from in comparison to last year to this year. He's a big, strong man, and he, when he gets the ball, it's very hard to shake him off. I remember watching him in the National League, Kerry against Dublin, and he just controlled the game. He was able to hold the ball, dictate the play, which way he was going to put it, and he was outstanding. He carried that form from National League into Championship, and he was just so consistent. He set the tempo for Dublin. And then you had Brian Howard alongside him, and you see this fella going up for a ball. Now, Raheny man like this man, and he was able to go up and catch a ball equally as good as him. And for a young fella to do that in Croke Park, I think is unbelievable. And he showed no fear whatsoever, and fully deserved of his All-Star as well.
Yeah, so the only debate with Kilkenny was, is he full forward, is he centre half forward now?
But that's the beauty about Ciaran Kilkenny, because we've seen, particularly in the Championship and the National League, you see him coming in for close attention. You saw it last year against Mayo with Lee Keegan, and when you have a fella who's getting this close attention, and then they put him into the full forward line, and all of a sudden you're playing full back marking this guy, it's more daunting than it would be out in the half forward line, and so it would put the defender thinking, and I think that's the beauty about Kilkenny. He's played a lot of his underage football in the full forward line, and he has that I suppose added thing that he can go in there. It's very dangerous.
He probably is more effective out in the half forward line because he controls everything for Dublin. He's probably like a quarterback. I suppose in our modern game, if it needs to be slowed down, he'll slow it down, or if it needs to inject pace, he'll do it, and he's just a fantastic player. And
then in the full forward line, we have David Clifford, Paul Mannion. I think there were 2 certs. And our third one as well, I can guess who this is going to be, Graham, but who did you go with in the end?
Yeah, we went for Colin McManus in the finish. He's a fantastic player. I suppose, like all corner forwards, they're given that bit of extra attention. He's been marked with 2 or 3 players all year and has still come up with the goods. I suppose like there is a couple of players that would feel they'd be in with a shout as well, but we went for him at the finish.
Yeah, just looking through the options here. I mean, there's a couple of lads, obviously Ryan McHugh, the Flynns, Daniel Flynn from Kildare, Damien Comer, like you mentioned, Ciaran. There were a few different options there.
For me, I thought Daniel Flynn was excellent on Kildare's run this year. He probably scored about 2 goals of the Championship. He's a powerhouse, and he's probably unlucky. I think the forward line was more difficult to pick. There was a lot of guys in there. As you said, Ryan McHugh was another one. He scored a brilliant goal against Fermanagh and was excellent for Donegal and their run through Ulster. It was hard to pick that full forward line, but I think Clifford came of age, as we know, and Mannion was fantastic in terms of what he brought to the Dublin team in terms of his work rate and going forward. And then McManus is just a genius. He's the top player in the country, and we always remember that point that he kicked against Tyrone earlier on the Ulster Championship out on the sideline, and his performance against Kerry in the Super 8. So it was a difficult line to pick, but I thought Flynn was one that could have was pushing hard to get in there.
So maybe next year. Well, just looking at this here, that's a serious 15 you've picked here. Thanks very much for that, lads. But just before we go, your PwC GPA Footballer and Young Footballer of the Year picks. Who have you gone with, Ciaran?
I'm going to stick to the blue colours. I'm going with Ciaran Kilkenny and Brian Howard.
Very good, Marc.
I'm going to go with Jack Mccaffrey for Player of the Year. I thought, the real business end of the Championship, semi-final, final, he was man of the match on both occasions. To come back from a cruciate and not lose any of his pace. He was just unbelievable, and the way he attacks, just unstoppable. Young Footballer of the Year, I'm going to go with my colours. I'm going to go with David Clifford. I think for a young fella just to come into a senior football team, you know, Kerry were poor this year by their own standards, and to be the standout player on the team when the players around you aren't going that well, particularly, you know, the amount of goals he scored in the Super 8s, and I suppose that wonder goal against Monaghan in the Super 8s up in Clonus, unbelievable, and to be able to put it into the corner. So I'm going to go with David.
Good stuff. We've had a Dublin man going for a dub, a Kerry man going for a Kerry man. Graham, I'm afraid there are no meat nominees. Who have you gone for?
I've gone for Ciaran Kenny. I think he's been fantastic all year. He's been the playmaker for Dublin. I think the two guys, Brian Fenton and Jack Mccaffrey, deserve it also, but I think Ciaran just brought a bit more to the plate as well. I'll have to agree with Marc. I'll go south for the Young Player of the Year. I think Clifford was outstanding. You know, to come, a lot of pressure on him coming from minor, you know, the last year or two. So I think he's really come of age this year, and where he would have been put under, you know, a bit more scrutiny this year, he came up with the goods, and he was fantastic. I think, you know, Howard, you know, has been brilliant all year as well, but Clifford just gets the nod from me.
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting to see where his career is going to go to in the next decade or so.
Yeah.
That's it from us. Thanks very much, lads, for taking the time to chat to us. The PwC All-Stars app is available to download now, where you can choose both your football and hurling teams of the year. There's also plenty more besides on the app. There's news, there's quizzes, and there's also an archive of every single All-Star team since its inception in 1971. We're going to have a bit of fun with the lads now with their own All-Star teams, which you can see on the app. So make sure to check that video out on site soon.